sitting with President Biden in the Oval Office now. What would you recommend he do about the civilian death toll in Gaza and the risk of a wider war in the Middle East?
I visited Israel in February, and we went to a kibbutz. A kibbutz is a communal living center, and it was called Kfar Asa, right on the border with Gaza. We did a Zoom with a father in Gaza named Mohammed, who had 4 kids, and they were trying to build cross Israeli and Palestinian relationships. Hamas's actions on October 7th meant that that kibbutz was called later by an Israeli general the site of a massacre. And I don't know where or what has happened to Mohammed and his 4 children. So we have to place this blame squarely on the terrorist organization of Hamas for starting this conflict on October 7th, the most deadly day for Jews since the Holocaust. We need to make sure that Hamas is the focus of the response. Try everything we can to prevent civilian casualties, and if we can get the remainder of the hostages released and some kind of ongoing ceasefire put in place.
What happened on October 7th was wrong. That we have a tendency as a country to have select compassion, where we can have compassion for the individuals that lost lives on October 7th and their families, but yet for the 20,000 plus Palestinians, they deserve our compassion too. And when Netanyahu tells us that he does not see a 2-state solution, we ought to believe him. I cannot support doing wrong when wrong is wrong. And so those families' lives matter too. And we must also consider the fact that this makes our national security less secure.
Congressman was asked, and he said no ceasefire on KXAN. He said no ceasefire. The fact is 10,000 women and children have died. The fact is that we should go after Hamas in a police-like manner. The facts are that Bibi Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, fails to see the fact that Lebanon is around the corner, and Yemen and Iran. We must exhaust ourselves for peace, just like Bill Clinton tried to do. This president must exhaust himself to find peace in this powder keg that we call the Middle East, because it is the next World War III if we do not stop what is happening right now. You cannot bring justice to 1,200 people by killing 30,000, a third of which are women and children.
Listen, a ceasefire without conditions would mean that all of these hostages, over 100 that Hamas still holds, would remain hostages. It would also mean that Hamas stays in power so they could do this again at some later date. It is unacceptable that we would pursue something along those lines. We can limit and do everything we can to limit civilian casualties while also prosecuting this conflict against Hamas. But a ceasefire is not a magical term. Pursuing it is the work of hard negotiations, and that's what the president, I think, is trying to do right now. And it will be a part of the hostages coming home and other conditions being in place.